There's a moment when the storm rages inside you, when your soul burns like it's caught fire, when every part of you wants to roar, to cry out, to let the world feel your pain. But listen, sometimes the mightiest thing you can do is hold your peace. Silence ain't weakness, my friends. Silence ain't giving up. Silence is you rising above the chaos, taming the fire in your spirit, choosing God's peace over the world's noise, because there are times when words just don't carry the weight of your heart. Number one, be silent when your words can wound. There's a moment when anger grips your heart like a blazing furnace, when disappointment hits you like a tidal wave from the deep. Your first instinct is to strike back, to let words fly sharp, cutting, meant to hurt because you're hurting. But let me tell you something true. Once those words escape your lips, they're gone forever. They linger like a dark cloud, poisoning the air, wounding those you love. The damage is done because in that fiery moment you chose to unleash your pain instead of seeking God's understanding. You chose to tear down instead of build up. But silence in those moments, that's not cowardice, it's power. It's you taking control of the storm inside, leaning on the strength God gave you. Choosing silence when your words can wound is a test of who you are in Christ. It's where you decide if you'll lift others up or drag them down. The easy road is to let anger run your mouth, to let your feelings call the shots. But the higher road, the one God calls us to, demands strength. It demands you swallow that urge to speak and instead breathe in His peace, asking yourself, will my words shine God's light or cast a shadow? It's so easy to spit out words you don't mean. It's so easy to turn your voice into a weapon. But real strength, the kind God honors, is knowing when to keep your sword sheathed. There's wisdom in holding back, in remembering that your words are seeds. Plant bitterness, anger, or cruelty, and that's what grows in the hearts around you. But plant silence in those heated moments, and you sow understanding, patience, and God's grace. Those seeds bloom into trust, respect, and love. Silence ain't just the absence of words, it's the presence of discipline, a gift from the Lord. It's the art of holding back words that scar instead of heal. In that restraint, you find power over your spirit, power over the moment. We live in a world screaming to be heard, voices clashing like waves against the shore. But not every fight is won by talking. Some of the greatest victories come when you choose silence, when your words would only wound. There's a courage in that choice, a holy courage. Because when you hold back words meant to hurt, you're breaking the devil's cycle. You're choosing not to add to the pain already out there. You're choosing God's peace over chaos. That choice defines you. When your words can wound, silence is a gift you give yourself and others. It's an act of mercy, a reflection of God's love, because there's something greater than being right or winning a fight. It's choosing kindness when your flesh screams for cruelty. It's letting your silence speak of compassion, not letting your words carry anger. When you make that choice, you become rare in this world. You become someone who walks in the strength of the Lord. I know it ain't easy. It takes courage to bite your tongue when your blood's boiling. It takes patience to stay calm when you feel wronged, disrespected, or misunderstood. It takes wisdom to know your words can heal or destroy. Ask yourself, what do I want my words to do? Because what you send out comes back. Kindness returns as love. Cruelty returns as regret. Silence chosen with God's wisdom returns as peace. You've got to step back, breathe, and let God calm your soul before you speak. The harshest words come in anger. And when the storm passes, you're left with the wreckage, broken relationships, shattered trust, all because you didn't hold your peace. There's strength in walking away when your words would only fuel the fire. That's what separates the wise from the foolish, the godly from the reckless. Choosing silence when your words can wound ain't about being weak. It's about knowing the power of your voice, given by God. Words ain't weapons to hurl in anger, they're gifts to share with love. If you can't speak from love or truth, don't speak at all, because words spoken in rage will haunt you. They'll carve wounds too deep to heal. But what you choose not to say, that's a testament to your faith. Silence is a moment to reflect, to gather your thoughts, to seek God's clarity. It's responding with His wisdom, not reacting in pain. Master that, and you become someone who doesn't just live life but walks it with grace. Your words become precious because you know their weight. And when you do speak, people listen not because you're loud, but because your words carry God's understanding, not anger. So, next time that fire rises in you, remember you've got the power to choose, speak or be silent, wound or heal. When your words can hurt, let silence be your strength. Let it be your wisdom. Let it be the gift you offer yourself and those around you. There's something holy about holding back words that destroy. It shows you're in control, not your emotions. It shows you've chosen to walk in God's light. And that, my friends, is true power. Number 2, be silent when you don't have all the facts. Sometimes the urge to speak hits you like a freight train. You hear a story, catch a piece of someone's struggle, or overhear a rumor, and you're ready to weigh in, to judge, to let your opinion fly. But hold up, words spoken without the full truth are like arrows shot blind. They miss the mark. They strike innocent hearts. They cause pain that never should been. When you speak without knowing the whole story, you're not just talking, you're assuming and risking the trust God's placed in you. A half-truth is a dangerous thing. It's a lie dressed up as wisdom, and it can ruin lives, break bonds, and shatter reputations. Too often folks speak because they think they know enough, because they want to be heard more than they want to be right. But silence when you don't have all the facts isn't weakness. It's God's wisdom at work. It's the humility to know your words, once spoken, can't be undone. We live in a world that loves quick takes and loud opinions where everybody's got something to say about everything. But here's the truth, just because you've got a thought doesn't mean it's ready to be shared. Not when it's built on shaky ground. Not when it could hurt someone God loves. Choosing silence in those moments ain't about hiding, it's about guarding your integrity. It's about choosing God's truth over your haste. It's about waiting on His clarity before you open your mouth. Picture this, you hear something about someone you care about. It stings, it makes you mad. You're ready to confront them, to let words of betrayal pour out. But what if you've only got half the story? What if what you heard is twisted by lies or misunderstandings? Would your words heal? Or would they destroy something God's still building? In those moments when your mind's racing and your heart's heavy, silence is your shield. It gives you time to seek the truth, to ask questions, to let God guide you to understanding. And understanding, that's everything. It's the bridge from confusion to clarity, the path from harm to healing. But you can't get there if your mouth's moving faster than your spirit. Silence lets you listen to God's voice, not the world's noise. It's how you honor His command to love others as yourself. Number 3, be silent when you're angry and emotional. Anger is a storm that brews deep in your soul. It churns, it roars, it makes your heart pound like thunder. When that storm's at its peak, the easiest thing is to let it loose, to let your words cut like a blade, slicing through anyone in your path. But listen, the words you speak in anger are the ones you'll regret most. They burn bridges you built over years. They leave scars deeper than any wound. Once they're out, there's no pulling them back. Anger clouds your vision. It makes you see betrayal where there's none. It twists kind words into disrespect. It turns misunderstandings into battles and battles into chaos. When you speak from rage, you're not speaking God's truth, you're speaking your pain. And those words hurt more than they heal. But silence is your anchor. It's you pausing, breathing, and seeking God's calm before your emotions drag you somewhere you can't come back from. There's a strength in silence when you're angry, a strength the world doesn't get. They think power's in being the loudest, but real power, God's power, is controlling yourself when your soul's screaming to explode. It's knowing that angry words are weapons you can't unsheath. It's holding fast to God's peace until you can speak with His love. Choosing silence when you're angry ain't about bottling up your feelings, it's about giving them to God. It's taking time to understand why you're hurting, why you're disappointed, why you want to lash out. In that silence, you find clarity, you find control, you find the strength to respond, not react. Reacting throws fuel on the fire. Responding puts it out. You can't undo what you say in anger. You can apologize, explain, try to fix it, but those words linger. They echo in the hearts you've wounded. And here's the hard truth. Folks forget your kindness 100 times over, but your cruelty, they carry that forever. That's the cost of letting anger speak. That's the price of not trusting God with your silence. When you choose silence in your rage, you're not silencing your voice, you're refining it. You're making sure that when you speak, your words carry God's purpose. Because when you speak from calm, people hear you. They hear His truth, not your pain. They respect your words because they know you chose them with care, with intention, with the Lord's guidance. Silence gives you back your power. It lets you step away from the heat and return with God's clarity. It lets you choose healing over hurting, connection over conflict. That choice takes courage. It takes strength. It takes the kind of faith most folks never find because they let their emotions run their mouth. But you're called to more. When that anger rises, when that fire burns in your chest, step back. Breathe. Choose silence not because you're weak, not because you're scared, but because you know your words have power and you won't use that power against God's will. You won't be the one who speaks from rage instead of love. And when that storm inside you calms, when God's peace settles in, then speak. Share your truth in a way that heals, that builds, that honors Him. That's true strength, the kind only a few walking with the Lord ever find. It's the strength that turns anger into wisdom, chaos into peace. Next time that storm brews, know this: silence ain't your enemy, it's your ally. It's your shield against words you can't take back. It's your path to God's healing. Choose it because your voice deserves to shine with His clarity, not your rage. Number 4, be silent when someone else is speaking. Listening sounds simple, right? But in a world full of noise where voices fight to be heard, true listening is a gift from God. Real listening ain't just hearing words, it's patience, humility, the strength to quiet your own voice to hear someone else's heart. Too often we listen to answer, not to understand. We sit there half ready to jump in, to prove our point, to protect our pride. That ain't listening, that's just waiting to talk. When someone's speaking, your silence is respect. It's you saying your thoughts matter. Your story matters. You matter to God and to me. In a world starving to be heard, that respect is powerful. It's healing, it's holy. We're taught the loudest voice wins, but that's a lie. True power, God's power, is in listening with purpose, choosing silence to understand, not to compete. When you're silent while someone speaks, you're giving them a gift. You're giving them space to be seen, to be heard, to be known. And ain't that what we all want? To know our voice matters, that we're not shouting into the void. When you offer that silence, you're building something stronger than words. You're building trust. You're building love, the kind God calls us to show. But too many of us fear silence. We rush to fill the quiet, to prove ourselves before we even get what's being said. And when we do that, we miss the point. We miss the chance to connect, to learn, to grow in God's wisdom. Speaking over someone tells them their voice don't matter, that their pain, their joy, their truth ain't worth your time. That's a wound deeper than any insult. Being silent when someone speaks don't mean you agree with them. It don't mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough to hold your peace, wise enough to know you can't understand if you're planning your next line. It means you respect them enough to listen with your heart, not just your ears. Words ain't just noise, they're pieces of someone's soul, glimpses of their truth. If you're too busy trying to be heard, you'll never hear God's voice in them. I've seen folks lose friendships, love, and opportunities because they couldn't be silent when someone else was speaking. They were so caught up in defending themselves, they missed the message God was sending through that person. And once that moment's gone, it's hard to get back. The trust breaks all because someone chose their voice over another's truth. There's strength in holding back and being still long enough to hear what God's showing you through someone else. Master that, and you become someone who doesn't just hear you understand. You see their pain, their joy, their fight. You make them feel valued in God's eyes. And when you finally speak, your words carry weight because you've earned the right to be heard by listening with humility. Listening with purpose ain't just about words, it's about hearing the heart behind them. The fears, the dreams, the truth God's woven into their story. If you're always interrupting, always pushing your point, you'll miss that truth. You'll miss the connection God's offering. But when you choose silence, when you honor someone's voice, you give them courage to share their soul. That's a gift no words can match. Next time you're in a conversation, ask yourself, am I listening or just waiting to talk? Am I giving them the respect of my silence or drowning their truth with my noise? Because when you choose silence while someone speaks, you're choosing God's way. You're choosing understanding over judgment, connection over conflict. That's where real communication starts. That's where healing begins. That's where God's love shines. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. And when you do speak, your words will carry the strength of someone who's listened, who understands, who values others as God does. Number 5, be silent when it's not your story to tell. There's something sacred in someone's story, a holy truth that belongs to them alone. When someone trusts you with their story, they ain't just sharing words, they're giving you pieces of their soul. Their struggles, their pain, their dreams, their scars, it's their truth, fragile and precious. That trust is a gift from God, one you don't take lightly. But too many of us forget that. We hear a story and turn it into gossip, into something to pass around instead of something to protect. Once those words leave your mouth, you can't pull them back. You can't undo the betrayal of sharing what wasn't yours and just tell. When someone gives you their story, they're handing you a piece of themselves, still healing, still tender from past wounds. When you speak their truth without permission, you're not just breaking trust, you're breaking their heart. You're taking something holy and making it cheap, something that don't belong to you anymore. And the damage don't stop there. When you tell a story that ain't yours, you twist it. You add your own spin, your own biases, your own half understanding. What others hear ain't the pute, that's your version, tainted by your lens. That ain't right. That ain't God's way. Their story deserves to be told how they want, by them, not you. You might think you're helping by sharing. You might think you're doing good by spreading their truth. But it ain't your place. It ain't your call. Your job, when someone trusts you with their story, is to guard it, to honor the faith they put in you by keeping it safe even when you're tempted to talk, even when you feel justified. When you betray that trust, you hurt them and you hurt yourself. Once trust is broken, it's hard to rebuild. The connection's lost, all because you couldn't stay silent when it mattered. Silence here ain't about holding back your voice, it's about lifting up someone else's. It's knowing your words have power, and with that power comes a duty to protect what God's entrusted to you, not to use it for your own gain. When you choose silence, you choose integrity, you choose honor, and that choice shows who you are in Christ. Will you be the one who guards someone's truth like a treasure from the Lord, or the one who tosses it away for a moment's chatter, a laugh, a fleeting sense of importance? That's your call. But once you make it, there's no turning back. People's stories belong to them, not you, not me. When you respect that, you're showing kindness, empathy, and an understanding of what it means to be trusted, to be vulnerable in God's sight. That respect earns you something greater than gossip's cheap thrill. It earns you true connection, loyalty, the kind of bond God builds. The ones who listen, who protect others' stories, those are the ones trusted in His eyes. Those are the ones who build relationships that last, rooted in understanding, integrity, and honor. So next time you're tempted to share someone's story, remember, if it ain't yours to tell, it ain't yours to speak. Choose silence. Choose respect. Choose to be the one who guards others' stories with the care you'd want for your own. That's true strength. That's God's kindness at work. Number 6, be silent when your words will only fuel gossip. There's a darkness in idle talk, a poison that spreads when folks speak without care, tossing words like they don't carry the power to destroy. Gossip's the easiest trap to fall into because it feels harmless, a quick word over coffee, a whisper behind closed doors. But those words, those careless words, can leave wounds that never heal. Gossip's like a spark in dry grass. It starts small, but it spreads fast, burning through reputations, tearing apart relationships, leaving only ashes. And the worst part, The one who lit the match rarely sees the ruin they've caused. By the time truth shows up, the lies have taken root, and someone's honor, God's child, is reduced to dust. Sometimes staying silent is the mightiest thing you can do. Refusing to add your voice to that fire is an act of mercy, a stand for God's truth. There are conversations you don't belong in, moments when your words, no matter how small, feed a flame that shouldn't be burning. If you speak when your words only cause harm, you're part of the destruction. But when you choose silence in the face of gossip, you rise above it. You choose God's integrity over the world's indulgence. You choose His kindness over cruelty. And that ain't easy. Everybody wants to feel included, to be part of the talk, to feel like they've got something worth saying. But ask yourself, is being in the loop worth hurting someone God loves? Is speaking worth tearing down one of His children? You don't have to weigh in on every rumor. You don't have to add to every conversation, especially the ones built on lies, half-truths, or spite. You can walk away. You can keep your words locked tight when you know they'll only hurt. That's not weakness, that's God's wisdom, that's His compassion. Gossip grows because people feed it. It thrives when we let it. But when you refuse to join in, you're doing more than staying quiet, you're standing for something greater. You're standing for decency, for kindness, for the truth that your words should heal, not harm, that your voice should lift up, not tear down. I've seen lives broken by careless words, dreams crushed by rumors that weren't true. And I've seen the guilt of those who spoke without thinking, their regret coming too late to fix what they broke. Here's what I've learned: just because you can speak don't mean you should. Just because you've got something to say don't mean it needs to be heard. Your words have power, don't ever forget that. They can be a balm or a blade. When you choose silence over gossip, you're choosing to use that power wisely. You're choosing to be a protector, not a destroyer. You're choosing God's path over the world's. There's something noble in refusing to add to the noise, something holy in keeping your words pure when the world's drowning in negativity. When you say no to gossip, you're saying, I won't tear down God's children. I won't drag their name through the mud. That choice changes everything. In a world quick to judge, quick to speak without thinking, those who choose silence when their words would harm make a mark. They show true strength lies not in how loud you are, but in how wisely you hold your peace. So next time you're in a conversation that feels wrong, know this: you've got the power to walk away. You've got the power to keep silent. And in that, you've got the power to be better, to be kinder, to be someone who builds with their voice, not destroys. Your silence can be the loudest stand for God's love. Number 7, be silent when your words won't change a thing. Ever stood at the edge of an argument, words locked and loaded, your pride demanding to be heard? Deep down, you knew no matter how hard you spoke, no matter how much passion you poured out, it wouldn't shift a thing. It wouldn't heal the hurt. It wouldn't open eyes. It wouldn't bring God's peace. It'd just feed a fire already out of control. Sometimes we speak not to make a difference, but to soothe our ego. We talk to prove a point, to defend our pride, to win a fight that was over before it started. But words spoken just to feel right, they've got no power. They've got no light. They're just noise, empty, bitter noise. When you let that noise take over, you lose the heart of what it means to speak with God's purpose. There's wisdom in knowing when your words will hit a wall, when your truth will meet resistance instead of understanding. When the fight's about ego, not growth. In those moments, the greatest strength you've got is restraint. The greatest wisdom is silence. Silence, chosen with God's guidance, ain't defeat, it's control. It's peace. It's guarding your spirit instead of wasting it on battles that won't be won. I've seen folks spend years arguing over nothing, trying to force their truth on hearts that weren't ready, trying to fix what God hadn't called them to fix. All they got was exhaustion, a hollow wind that left them more broken than before. They forgot a simple truth: not every fight's worth fighting. Not every talk's worth having. Sometimes the strongest move is to walk away, not out of weakness, but out of God's wisdom. Your words are precious. Your energy is holy. Pouring them into a void where they won't be heard is a waste of the gifts God gave you. Speaking just to be heard ain't communication, it's noise. And the world's got enough of that. There's power in choosing silence when your words won't matter. In that silence, you reclaim God's peace. You save your strength for what's worthy. You protect your heart, your dignity, your spirit. That's where true strength lies. Not everyone's ready for your truth. Not everyone can hear God's voice through you. Trying to force them to see what they want is like shouting into a storm. Your words get lost, twisted, torn apart. So why waste your voice on closed hearts? Why waste your soul on talks that only bring pain? Silence ain't giving up. It's rising above. It's saving your energy for moments that matter, when your words can heal, inspire, or change lives. When you speak only when it counts, your words carry God's weight. They carry His meaning. But that power comes from discipline, from holding your tongue when talking's pointless, from the humility to know your voice ain't always needed, from the wisdom to see true powers in what you don't say. Master that and you're unstoppable. Next time you're itching to argue or defend yourself, to push your truth on someone who won't hear it, ask, will my words make a difference? Or am I just talking to talk? If they'll just get lost in the noise, choose silence, choose peace. Choose the strength to walk away. Sometimes the loudest statement you make is the one you hold back, trusting God's timing. Number 8, be silent when someone else is hurting. Pain speaks its own language. It's raw, real, louder than any words we could muster. When someone's hurting, their soul cries out in a way no conversation can fix. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just be there, present, silent, holding space. Silence given with God's love ain't empty, it's full. It's a presence that says, I see you. I feel your pain. I'm here, and God's here too. Too often we rush to fill the quiet with words, scrambling to say something to ease their suffering. We try to fix what's broken, to give their pain a reason or a purpose. But sometimes our words, no matter how kind, sound like noise to someone drowning in grief. There's a holiness in silence, a healing power in just being there. Not trying to change their pain, not trying to make it fit our comfort. Some wounds ain't meant for words to heal. They need time, space, the quiet presence of someone who knows healing's a journey, not a quick fix. When you try to fill that silence, you might make their pain feel small, like it's something to solve, not something to feel. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let them hurt. Let them feel. Let them walk their path with God at their pace. Silence in those moments ain't cold. It ain't turning away. It's sitting passion. It's sitting in the dark within God's light when the dark ready. It's the strength to hold back the urge to fix, to heal, to make it right, and instead just be a steady rock when their world's falling apart. I've seen folks try to comfort with words when silence was all that was needed, someone to hold a hand, sit close, share the moment without judgment. And I've seen the healing that comes from that quiet presence, a healing words can't touch. Sometimes silence is the greatest gift you can give. It lets them speak if they want, lets them pour out their pain without interruption, shows them their hurt is valid, that it don't need fixing, just feeling. When you offer that silence, you're giving more than words. You're giving understanding, empathy, a chance for them to be seen, to be heard, to be held in God's love without pressure to explain or pretend they're okay. Sometimes your words get in the way, not because they're wrong, but because your need to speak is about your discomfort with their pain. If you really want to help, you've got to set that aside. You've got to sit in the silence, let them hurt, let God work at His pace. Healing ain't something you can force. It's not something you rush with advice or wisdom. It's something they find in God's time, and sometimes the only way you help is by being silent, by letting them know they're not alone. So when someone you love is hurting, remember, your words might not be what they need. Your presence, your silence might be enough. Choosing silence over empty words ain't weakness, it's grace. It's strength. It's God's love in its purest form. Sometimes that's all they need to start finding their way back to His light. Number 9, be silent when it's time to listen to your own heart. There's a voice inside you whispering soft but true, carrying your dreams, your pain, your deepest call. It's the voice of your heart, guided by God Himself. Too often that voice gets drowned out by the world's noise, other people's expectations, life's demands, opinions telling you who to be, what to want, where to go. But there's a time when you've got to hush the chaos, turn away from the world, and really listen to what God's speaking through your heart. Your heart holds a wisdom no one else has, a truth God planted just for you. If you never stop to hear it, you'll never know who you're meant to be, what you're called to do. People will try to talk you out of your dreams. They'll say your path's too hard, too crazy, too far from what's safe. If you let their voices overpower God's whisper, you'll end up living a life that ain't yours, one built on their plans, not His. One that feels empty no matter how much you fill it. But when you choose silence, when you turn inward and listen to your heart, that's when God's truth shines clear. That's when you find your purpose. That's when you remember who He made you to be. That clarity, that peace, it's worth more than all the world's opinions as it can real. It's yours, a gift from the Creator. Listening to your heart ain't easy, it ain't comfortable. God's voice in you will tell you things that face you, push you to face your fears, to take risks, to leave what's safe behind. That's tough. But it's necessary. Nothing worth becoming comes from playing it safe. The greatest battles you'll fight ain't with the world, they're with your doubt, your fear, your hesitation. The only way to win is to listen to your heart, to trust God's guidance, even when the road's foggy, even when everyone's telling you to turn back. Your heart, led by Him, knows the way. Silence is the key. It's the space where God's voice in you can be heard. But you've got to make that space, walk away from the noise. Find a place where the world can't touch you, where all you hear is your heart beating in tune with His will. People will question you. They'll doubt you. They'll try to pull you from God's path. But their voices don't matter. What matters is what you believe, what God's stirring in your soul. That's your truth, stronger than all the noise. So take time to be silent. Listen not to the world, but to the voice God put in you. The one whispering your purpose, your destiny, the one telling you who you are in Him. That voice is your compass. If you listen, really listen, it'll lead you to the life God meant for you. Don't fear the silence. Embrace it. Let it clear the noise. Let it reveal the truth God's been holding for you. When you hear that truth, when you follow your heart with God's guidance, you become unstoppable. You become the person He always knew you could be. Closing words, the strength of silence. As we close this journey, let's pause and feel the power of silence. Silence ain't weakness, it's strength wrapped in God's grace. It's the courage to hold your tongue when your words could wound, when you don't know the full story, when your emotions rage, or when someone needs space to share their truth. It's the wisdom to know your voice don't always need to fill the room to be heard in heaven. Silence is protecting your spirit from gossip, knowing when your words won't move hearts, and trusting God's timing over your own. It's the humility to sit with someone's pain, not to fix it, but to share it, to let them know God's with them. And most of all, silence is the holy space where you hear your heart, where God's dreams for you speak clearest, where you find the path He carved for you. This walk of mastering silence ain't about shrinking or hiding your voice. It's about knowing when your silence speaks louder than words. It's choosing God's peace over conflict, His wisdom over noise, His truth over pride. It's living with purpose, where every word you speak is chosen to heal, to inspire, to lift up in His name. So I'm calling you to embrace silence as your strength, your guide, your shield. Let it be the power God works through you, because sometimes the greatest strength you've got is in the words you don't say. Thank you for walking this path with me. Thank you for opening your hearts to God's message. May your silence drown out the world's noise. May it lead you to a life of purpose, peace, and greatness in His eyes. God bless you, and keep walking in His light. A call to share your story. Now I'm speaking to you, yes, you, chosen by God, created in His image with a story only you can tell. Psalm 139:14 says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. You are special, a masterpiece of the Lord, and your journey, your struggles, your victories, they're part of His plan to inspire others. I'm asking you to share in the comments below, how has silence brought you closer to God's peace? How has holding your word shown His strength in you? Let your story shine as a light for someone else. Because when you share, you're not just speaking, you're building His kingdom, lifting up His people, showing the world the power of His love. Be bold, be brave, and let God's truth in you inspire us all.